जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना। यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना। यमुनातीरावनचारि। यमुनातीरावनचारि। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya. Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikas Swami Nitinamane. Namo Vishnupadaya. Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, titled The Activities of Maharaj Priyavrata, Text 16. Mukto api tavad bhibriyat swa deham arabdham ashnan abhimana shunyaha yathanubhutam pratiyata nidraha kim tu anya dehaya gunan na vringte mukto pitavad bhibriyat swadeham mukto pitavad bhibriyat swadeham arabdhamashnan abhimana shunyaha arabdhamashnan abhimana shunyaha yathanubhutam pratiyata nidra yathanubhutam pratiyata nidra kim tvanyadehaya gunanna vringte kim tvanyadehaya gunanna vringte mukto pitavad bhibriyat swadeham arabdhamashnan abhimana shunyaha yathanubhutam pratiyata nidra kim tvanyadehaya gunanna vringte mukto pitavad bhibriyat swadeham arabdhamashnan abhimana shunyaha yathanubhutam pratiyata nidra kim tvanyadehaya gunanna vringte. Please repeat.
Mukto pitavad bhibriyat swadeham
mukto pitavad bhibriyat swadeham
arabdhamashnan abhimana shunyaha yathanubhutam pratiyata nidra tvanyadehaya gunanna vringte
tvanyadehaya gunanna vringte
mukto pitavad bhibriyat swadeham arabdhamashnan abhimana shunyaha yathanubhutam pratiyata nidra kim tvanyadehaya gunanna vringte
mukto pitavad bhibriyat swadeham
mukto pitavad bhibriyat swadeham
arabdhamashnan abhimana shunyaha
arabdhamashnan abhimana shunyaha
yathanubhutam pratiyata nidra
yathanubhutam pratiyata nidra
tvanyadehaya gunanna vringte
kim tvanyadehaya gunanna vringte
Mataji's.
Mukto pitavad vivriyat swadeham.
Arabdhamashnanabhimanasunya. Yathanubhutam pradiyata nidra. Okay, word-to-word translations. Muktaha, a liberated person. Api, even. Tavat, so long. Bhibriyat, must maintain. Swadeham, his own body. Arabdham, obtained as a result of past activity. Ashnan, accepting. Abhimana shunyaha, without erroneous conceptions. Yatha, as. Anubhutam, what was perceived. Pratiyata nidraha, one who is awakened from sleep. Kimtu, but. Anyadehaya, for another material body. Gunan, the material qualities. Na, never. Vrinte, enjoys. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: even when one is liberated, he nevertheless accepts the body as he has never accepts the body he has received according to his past karma. Without misconceptions, he regards his enjoyment and suffering due to that karma the way an awakened person regards a dream he had while sleeping. He thus remains steadfast and never works to achieve another material body under the influence of the three modes of material nature. Purport: the difference between a liberated and a conditioned soul is that the conditioned soul is under the concept of bodily life, whereas a liberated person knows that he is not the body but a spirit, different from the body. Priyavrata might have thought that although a conditioned soul is forced to act according to the laws of nature, why should he, who is far advanced in spiritual understanding, accept the same kind of bondage and impediments to spiritual advancement? To answer this doubt, Lord Brahma informed him that even those who are liberated do not resent accepting in the present body the results of their past activities. While sleeping, one dreams of many unreal things, but when he awakens, he discards them and makes progress in factual life. Similarly, a liberated person who has completely understood that he is not the body, but a spirit soul, disregards past activities performed in ignorance and performs his present activities in such a way that they produce no reactions. This is described in Bhagavad Gita 3.9. Yajñātāt karmano nyantara lokoyam karma bandhanaha. If one performs activities for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality, the Yajna Purusha, his work does not produce reactions, whereas karmis who act for themselves are bound by the reactions of their work. A liberated person therefore does not think about whatever he has ignorantly done in the past. Instead, he acts in such a way that he will not produce another body by fruitive activities. As clearly mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitya itan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Bhagavad Gita 14.26. Regardless of what we have done in our past lives, if we engage ourselves in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord in this life, we will always be situated in Brahma Bhuta, liberated state, free from reactions, and will not be obliged to accept another material body. Tyaktva deham punar janma naiti mameti sorjuna. Bhagavad Gita 4.9. After giving up the body, one who has acted in that way does not accept another material body, but instead goes back home, back to Godhead. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sujivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Muktopi tavad bibhriyat swadeham arabdham ashnan abhimana shunyaha yathanubhutam pratiyat nidraha kim tvanya dehaya gunan navringte. If one is liberated, he nevertheless accepts the body he has received according to his past karma. Without misconceptions, however, he regards his enjoyment and suffering due to that karma the way an awakened person regards a dream he had while sleeping. He thus remains steadfast and never works to achieve another material body under the influence of the three modes of material nature. Hare Krishna. So, thank you for allowing me to visit the Zurich temple and fulfill the order of my spiritual master to say something beneficial. And I pray to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees that I may say something bona fide. So this is the chapter describing the activities of Priyavrata Maharaj, and we were just discussing this also at New Vrajadam. They are on the very same chapter. They actually just finished that chapter a few days ago. And this is a very interesting incident that happens in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where you have a devotee, Priyavrata Maharaj, who has matured in his spiritual understanding to the extent that he is no longer interested in material enjoyment. Yet his father, Swayambhuva Manu, wants him to take up the responsibility of ruling the world. Why does Swayambhuva Manu want that? Swayambhuva Manu is the son of Lord Brahma, and Brahma, the original progenitor, is given the service, task of populating this entire universe. So this is Brahma's concern from the very beginning, how to populate the entire universe, how to, because the Supreme Lord is the shelter of all living entities, both conditioned and liberated. However, the liberated souls accept the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the conditioned living entities are not aware that they are under his shelter. Rather, they reject his shelter, but still there is nowhere else to go because Supreme Personality of Godhead is everywhere. Vyaptim just what is that verse? Vyaptim cha bhuteshu akhileshu chatmanaha. That he is spread everywhere. He is also within the hearts of all living entities. So, Supreme Personality of Godhead has several conditioned souls for which he has created this material world so that they can attempt to fulfill their desire to enjoy separately from him. Brahma is given the task to facilitate this and therefore has to populate the entire universe with living entities. And Swayambhuva Manu, the Manus, are in charge of creating these different kinds of living entities. So they are in anxiety that they have to perform their task. And Swayambhuva Manu's son, Priyavrata, is supposed to be engaged in this, but Priyavrata Maharaj, having received transcendental knowledge by the grace of his guru, Narada Muni, is no longer interested in this activity. And Swayambhuva Manu is trying to convince him. And what does Priyavrata Maharaj do when Swayambhuva Manu is his father. And according to the rules of scripture, and especially Vedic culture, the order of the father cannot be rejected. But what if a junior or someone who is under somebody has some doubts, has some inhibition, or has some hesitancy in executing the order of their superior? So at this point, Priyavrata Maharaj does not reject the order of his father. He doesn't outrightly reject. But what he does is he asks him, he says, well, you see, I'm engaged in devotional service, and if I accept the kingdom and I accept this responsibility of becoming a householder, will it create impediments for my devotional service? This is the question he puts forward to Swayambhuva Manu. However, Priyavrata Maharaj is asking this question, and this is respectful that he asks it. However, in his mind he is like, obviously this is an impediment. Why are you asking me to do this? I am not interested in doing this. And so Brahma comes to intervene. Brahma comes down, and Brahma is the Acharya of the Sampradaya, and he is also the creator of the entire universe. So therefore his word cannot be like just whimsically rejected. And so Brahma is speaking. He is speaking to Dhruva Maharaj. And the word here that this, let me see the Sanskrit, well at least it's in the English, that the point is that even if one is liberated, he nevertheless accepts the body he has received according to his past karma. This is very significant, this word even. It doesn't mean that liberated souls have to undergo this process of accepting the past karmas, but even they do so. So it's like saying, like, to think of a mundane example, if you say that even the traffic policeman follows traffic laws when his siren is not on. What does that mean? It doesn't mean nobody's going to catch the traffic policeman if he jumps a traffic light. Nobody's going to pull him over because he's the one who pulls other people over. But even when he is not on, trying to chase someone or on an emergency, even he follows traffic laws. So this word even is often used in several of the Vedic texts as a way to set an example. And Krishna uses this in Bhagavad Gita also. When Krishna explains that, what's that verse I'm missing all the Sanskrit, kind of tired actually from yesterday's late night train. Krishna says that those who are great people, people follow them in general. That's the English. Yadyad achariti sheshas tata devetero janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokatad anuvartate. That whatever great people in this world do, the common people follow. In the next verse, he says, Astikya janakadayaha loka sangraham evapi samparsyam kartum arhasi. He said, even great personalities like Janaka, they follow this. Why? Loka sangraham evapi. Simply for the benefit of the world, to set an example for the rest of the world. Loka sangraham evapi samparsyam kartum arhasi. That just to set an example. And why is this being done? Why is Krishna telling this to Arjuna? Because Arjuna is trying to renounce the material world. He's like, oh, I don't want to engage in this ghastly warfare. What is wrong with you, Krishna? Why are you asking me to do this? And being Krishna's friend, Arjuna actually pokes at Krishna. He uses several words and he calls him in different ways. For instance, he calls him Madhava, goddess of fortune. Why are you bringing misfortune if you are the goddess of fortune? If you are the lord of the goddess of fortune? How can you bring misfortune by these kind of activities? And then he explains why he thinks it will cause misfortune. Now still Krishna is saying, even people like Janaka follow these, activities, they set an example for the rest of the world. Even they abide by the system of varnashrama dharma. This is basically what is described in the previous verse, that according to our association with different modes of material nature, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives us specific bodies and the happiness and distress we achieve. Therefore, one must be situated as he is, and must be conducted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the point is that the Varnashrama system is a scientific process. Srila Prabhupada describes this, that it is best therefore to accept the injunctions of the Vedas, which are mentioned as Yad Vachi. In accordance with these injunctions, everyone should find out whether he is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra, and should thus be educated accordingly. Then his life will be successful. Otherwise, all of human society will be confused. So, the point is that Krishna is telling Arjuna, see, you're a Kshatriya, and even if you consider yourself liberated, Kshatriyas like Janaka Maharaj did not do what you are proposing. They didn't just renounce everything and go to the forest. They executed their injunctions. They executed their duties, the Vedic injunctions that are meant for them. And when they do that, these are liberated persons. Janakadaya. Janaka is a Mahajan, one of the 12 Mahajans. And he's liberated. And even if one is liberated, he nevertheless accepts the body he has received according to his past karma. Without misconceptions, however, he regards his enjoyment and suffering due to the karma the way an awakened person regards a dream he had while sleeping. So even a liberated person, just to set an example for the rest of the world, accepts the body he has received. When one accepts the body that one has received, then one has to accept the enjoyment and suffering that one receives in accordance with this body. This body, some devotees may have some health problems. Some devotees may have a desire to sing very nicely. They are not capable of singing. It just doesn't sound as beautiful. Even though for themselves it might sound very nice, but unfortunately we respect all devotees, and devotion, that ultimately Krishna accepts the devotion of the particular devotee. But still, it is good, and it's a sign of maturity if a devotee understands where he is capable of doing things, what he is capable of doing and what he is not capable of doing. And if there are other devotees who are capable of singing better, then it's better that they lead the kirtan. And one is capable of doing some other service, then one does that service very nicely. This is a sign of maturity, and it is a sign of acceptance. Because there's something called as prarabdha karma. It is the fruits of one's reactions, for one's activities. Those reactions, they are manifest in this body that we have received. This is one fruit, or the manifestation of several fruits. Some person may be very fit, very strong. He may be able to lift many things and do a lot of physical work, but as far as mental tasks and activities goes, he's not very capable of doing it. Somebody may be very good at math, and somebody may not be very good at math. It doesn't mean that the person who is expert at math is a better devotee than one who is not expert at math. Yet, the person who is expert at math is better, he's better off doing the service of an accountant, which is a service that is required in the movement. Someone has to do the accounts, someone has to be the treasurer, and it should be done. It's a very important service. And someone who is not capable of doing math very well, it's better that he doesn't do the service of an accountant. Of course, there's emergency deployment where if there's nobody, then one should somehow try to learn and do it. And by Krishna's mercy, Krishna can empower any devotee to act in any way. Yet, the general system is that one engages one's abilities in Krishna's service. And one accepts that. And there is nothing wrong in accepting that. If one's nature is that of a Shudra, one can still be a devotee of Krishna. And there is nothing to be looked down upon in that particular position. As a Shudra, one is very capable and very expert in performing many tasks, in many services. Generally, Shudras are quite talented actually. Shudras are very talented people. They serve as blacksmiths, as carpenters, and many different tasks. And they're very expert. But does it mean that they are not Vaishnavas? Now, of course, if they want to maybe understand a particular, Shastric injunction, it is better they go to someone who's well-versed in Shastra. And this is the Vedic system. And the person who's well-versed in Shastra, he doesn't have time to carve wood or make this kind of beautiful altars. He goes to the Shudra. He goes to the carpenter. He does that service. But they're all engaged in Krishna service. This requires maturity. Now, why is Krishna, through Arjuna, instructing everyone to go through this process that even if one considers oneself liberated and one does not have desire for material enjoyment, why then why then do pure devotees exhibit this characteristic for the sake of the world in general? Because even though one may consider oneself liberated, the nature of Maya is that you can never be it's like, for a person who's coming out of material existence, it is very dangerous to consider without some level of caution that one is just completely liberated and one doesn't have to be afraid of Maya anymore. In fact, Srila Prabhupada himself, a disciple asked Srila Prabhupada, "Prabhupada, what are you praying to Krishna?" I'm praying that I will not fall down. Well, this is okay. So this story goes that Srila Prabhupada told his disciples that I will never fall down. Maya cannot attack me. And then devotees saw Srila Prabhupada praying to Krishna. Then he was asked to Srila Prabhupada, "Prabhupada, what are you praying to Krishna?" Prabhupada said, "I'm praying to Krishna that I will never fall down." "But Prabhupada, you said you will never fall down." "I will not fall down because I'm praying to Krishna that I will never fall down." So, pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada set that example. Srila Prabhupada himself said that I can be alone in a room full of beautiful women and still not be attracted, still not be enamored by them. This is very, very difficult. This is a position of someone who is fully liberated. Yet, devotees like Srila Prabhupada set the example of how a conditioned soul can come out of that material existence. And why is that process there? Because these material desires that are found within our heart, they are very deeply, situated. They're very deeply rooted. They're rooted, and they are. The word is. It's a specific word of anyways, whatever, you get the point. So that these material desires are situated very deep in our heart, and we don't really know where they are and what they are. And that's why the example is given like that of seeds, because when the circumstances are right, they'll suddenly sprout. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes this in Madhurya Kadambini, where he describes that sometimes there are desires, material desires that come after the practice of Krishna consciousness. Why? Because when one starts practicing Krishna consciousness, sometimes one is given certain responsibilities. Because if you've been practicing Krishna consciousness for some time and you don't have any responsibilities, meaning like you don't have any particular service that you take special care of, then that's not very good, because one has to have some feeling for Srila Prabhupada and one has to have some feeling for the movement. So it's not that everybody has to become GBC or Guru, but still, devotees if they have some desire to perform service, they take up a particular task and they become very, very dedicated to that. It may be something as simple as serving Tulasi Maharani, which is not a very simple service, but the point is that it's a service that anybody can take up But there is one thing about, okay, today is my duty to serve Tulasi, but there's another thing where like this service to Tulasi Maharani is my responsibility. And I've seen devotees, like I've seen one devotee who's that devotee in Chicago? He's a Prabhupada disciple who cleans the whole temple. Jitendriya Prabhu. Jitendriya Prabhu. So, he's, for years, decades, his service is to clean the temple. And that's all he does. He takes the trash out. You can see him taking the trash out every single day. And he doesn't complain about, so that devotee is not taking the trash. Why are these young devotees not learning? I'm taking the trash out every day. These fellows don't learn anything. It's his responsibility. He does that service. It's his responsibility to keep the temple clean. He has that feeling for Srila Prabhupada. And in that sense, Jitendra Prabhu is the guru of the whole world. Because through his example, he is showing what is dedication, what is affection in devotional service, what is service to one's spiritual master. And how do you know that he is an advanced devotee? Because you can see, he has nishtha, he has ruchi. He is steady in his performance service. He has taste for performing that service. He has great attachment, asakti to performing that service. And these are all signs of an advanced devotee. Because you can see they are performing that for decades. It's really amazing. And so, and whenever such devotees are unable to perform that service, they lament. They lament about their inability. They consider, just because this is all because of my past sinful activities, I'm unable to perform my service anymore. So it's a sign of a very advanced devotee. Now, we accept these responsibilities in Krishna consciousness because, and these responsibilities, they are generally accepted according to our nature, because then we can perform them. They're done steadily. How do you know what is to be performed according to one's nature? That's when you take a guidance from senior devotees. You take guidance from Guru. And why is this to be done? Why can't we just renounce everything? Because these material desires are so deeply rooted within the heart that we may think that we have no attraction for material life, but actually the attraction comes about. When the time is right, suddenly that attraction comes. So I was speaking of material desires that come after the propagation after taking up to Krishna consciousness. So we take up a responsibility, and then sometimes some devotee starts glorifying us, or we get some glorification. Or, we take up a responsibility where, we become a Sankirtan leader. So there's a party of few people we are managing. Immediately you see the fellow is a control freak. Before that characteristic wasn't there. He himself is surprised. I have such a desire to micromanage and control all these people. Where did that come from? Because it is not that and sometimes devotees say, Prabhuji, I don't want to do the service anymore. It's like this is very dangerous. But then the Guru is like, no, you must do the service because there's a need to do the service. But I'm getting all these material desires. Well, that's the point. You see, you have these material desires. Now work on them and try to get rid of it. Of course, if it becomes too much, then the service must be changed. But the point is that one may think that one is very advanced, but if one doesn't follow the proper process according to the injunctions given by Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, according to the Vedic injunctions, and one doesn't render devotional service, accepting one's conditioned nature and trying to engage one's conditioned nature in Krishna consciousness, then there is the risk of fall down. This is why, see, Priyavrata Maharaj is thinking, well, if I renounce everything, there is no cause of fall down. But actually, when one artificially renounces everything, then there is the greater risk of fall down, then engaging one conditioned nature. Logically, this might seem a little confusing. It might seem a little like, it might seem like not exactly what we expect. But Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Shanai Shanai Rupa Ramed, that one has to gradually make advancement in Krishna consciousness. That if one artificially tries to raise oneself to a very high level, then there is always a chance of fall down. But if one gradually makes advancement, and why? Because to accept one's conditioned nature is a sign of humility. Without humility, one cannot make any advancement in Krishna consciousness. And it's really hard to accept our conditioned nature. It's hard because we desire so many things. Our desires are whatever, what does it cost to desire? Nothing. So you desire anything and everything in the world. Whether we are qualified for that or not is another thing. Now, when one engages one's conditioned nature, especially according to the codes of Varnashram Dharma, that is what, and to put it simple, we can understand that if one doesn't engage in activities that are grossly sinful, and if one tries to understand one's nature through the scientific process of Krishna consciousness, and try to engage that nature in Krishna's service, with great feeling, while at the same time supporting the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. This is very important, right? We are not just... The difference between Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement and devotional service that was practiced before the advent of Lord Chaitanya, specifically before the advent of Lord Chaitanya, is that we understand that the Varnashrama duties are external to one's actual practice of Krishna consciousness. That we are engaging our body, our mind, our intelligence according to the injunctions of the Varnashrama system, so that we do not fall down from the process of Krishna consciousness due to gross attraction to sinful activities. Yet, ultimately, all of this is centered around the performance of Sankirtan. This is really, really important, because if our process of Daiva Varnashrama Dharma is that one engages one's abilities ultimately all together to serve the mission of Lord Chaitanya, which is Sankirtan. It is not... If Sankirtan is not being done, if we are not engaged in Sankirtan individually and collectively, then all of these activities will not save us in this age of Kali. Because ultimately what will save us in the age of Kali is Sankirtan, is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. And as a movement, we must be focused on distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books. Now, to facilitate this, there are so many things that are required, and therefore there are so many services that are created. I'll just give a small example. For instance, somebody dedicates their lives; they become a full-time devotee, and they are engaged in distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. But everyone may not, for their life, distribute Srila Prabhupada's books all their life. They may have a desire to have family and children get married. Now they're still devotees and they need to be provided for. So therefore now, there's, Srila Prabhupada had the vision to start farm communities and things like that. But ultimately, what are these farm communities meant to do? They're also meant to preach. Devotees are meant to set an example by living, and they're supposed to attract people from outside. And when the people from outside come, what do? You give them Srila Prabhupada's books. You preach to them. You show them the Krishna conscious way of living. And they also take it up. This is being seen in projects like Krishna Valley in Hungary. So ultimately, all this doesn't make sense if we are not doing Sankirtan. And how will we do Sankirtan? That means we personally have to practice follow the basic rules that Srila Prabhupada has given us. What are those basic rules? Basic rules that one must always chant 16 rounds, minimum 16 rounds, good rounds. Follow the 4 regulative principles, rise early in the morning, associate with devotees, read Srila Prabhupada's books. This is all irrespective of one's varna. This has nothing to do with one's varna. It has nothing to do with one's whether I'm a Shudra, I'm a Kshatriya, I'm a Brahmana or whatever. These activities have to be performed nevertheless. This is Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. That we are not just Varnashramavadis. We are actually interested in the Sankirtan mission. But we also have to maintain the body. And to maintain this material body and still be connected with the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya, and to not allow our conditioned nature to completely take, completely become enamored by our conditioned nature and forget Krishna, forget the great benediction of being able to practice Krishna consciousness. It is important that devotees understand their natures, understand their conditioned natures, and engage in Krishna service accordingly. This is the very simple, process of Krishna consciousness, and therefore, such a person who does that, he doesn't have to be afraid that his work will produce reactions and that he may become bound again, because he is always humble and he's always praying to Krishna that, you see, I'm so conditioned, and to maintain this body I have to engage in some activity. I am not transcendental to the modes of material nature, and because he is conscious of that, actually by that consciousness he has transcended the mode of material, he has transcended the three modes of material nature. And even if, like in Priyavrata Maharaja's story, he becomes carried away a little bit, he becomes reminded by Krishna, and he is brought back when the time is right. And as Krishna says here, he does not, as Srila Prabhupada writes here, he does not engage in activities that will cause him to take another material body. Instead, at the end of this life, he goes back home, back to Godhead, and he never returns. He doesn't accept another material body. Because even when in this material body, he is a Jivan Mukta. He is a liberated soul. Because he thinks Tattenu kampam susamikshamana bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvag vibhubir vidadhan namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bhak. That he thinks that the reactions that he is getting, whatever suffering he is getting, whatever happiness he is getting, this is all the mercy of Krishna. This is all, and this is all due to his past misdeeds. That Krishna is sending this happiness and distress in order for him to become purified. In order for him to, that he's saying, see, Krishna is sending all this distress to me because I need to learn a lesson. I'm so attached. I still haven't, even in this distress, he's showing me that in this distress I'm not able to remember Krishna. And in that way actually he's remembering Krishna. But he's very humble in that sense, and he tolerates, he accepts. And that requires great humility. It's not an easy thing. It is not an easy thing to accept one's conditioned nature and work along with that. It's actually a lot complicated, a lot more deep than what we think it is. It's not as simple as, I like to sing, therefore I'm a singer. That's not exactly what it is. It's more one's capabilities. It has a lot to do with one's upbringing, one's conditioning, one's past activities. But a devotee does not become depressed by thinking of these things. Rather, he uses these things to actually transcend it. He understands, okay, this is, by engaging in this service, I may want to do something else, but if I engage in this, because I'm ultimately satisfied in this, even though other people glorify something else, and this is not such a great service, like, or taking trash out, how many people are going to come and glorify you? Whereas, the pujari gets a lot more attention. But it's a service. He's very capable of performing. Somebody needs to do it, and so he does it, and that's it. It's very simple. And he's pleasing. That requires spiritual maturity to be able to accept that actually there is no difference between the one who takes trash and the pujari who serves on the altar. That requires maturity. That's not easy to achieve. So that's called avyabhicharini bhakti, that This Avyabhicharini Bhakti means that this is devotional service that is completely dedicated to the lotus feet of Krishna, the lotus feet of the spiritual master. One has understood the Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittete Koriyaikya. He has understood the instructions emanating from the lotus mouth of the spiritual master, and he has fully accepted that. He doesn't accept the instructions of the spiritual master that may be very nice in this material world, or people may like that particular instruction of the spiritual master, or they may accept that particular instruction of the spiritual master, but the other instructions of the spiritual master, not so glorious. What's so big in that? It's like, it's not like that. He accepts it, and he does that service. And it takes some maturity to reach that position. And Brahma, out of compassion for Priyavrata Maharaj, is engaging him as an instrument to display this to us, so that we may also learn and become sincere servants of Srila Prabhupada and his dedicated followers. Hare Krishna. So I'll stop here. Are there any questions or comments?
Thank you, Prabhu, for your wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
I really like this point that it seems so contradictory in a way that Priyavrata, you just renounce, and that's the way to go forward in Krishna consciousness. But actually, it's by following, your duty, and sometimes you have to go in a field where it seems like you're going to entangle yourself, but because it's sanctioned by Krishna, He will protect you, he will empower you. And
it's what pleases him. You see, both Priyavrata Maharaj and Arjuna were right. Priyavrata Maharaj says, if I do this, I'm going to get carried away. He got carried away. And Arjuna also said, you see, so many people are going to suffer, so many people are going to die, so much sinful activities are going to... Adharma bhibavat Krishna adharma is going to be propagated. Whole Mahabharata was one adharma after another adharma. So many codes of religious conduct that the Kshatriyas had to maintain were all broken one day after another day. Every single day in the battle of Mahabharata, all the 18 days, there was some major thing that happened. For instance, Arjuna's son Abhimanyu was killed by, several warriors at the same time. Very inglorious. Just the Kshatriya race was falling, and the age of Kali officially it began during the battle of Mahabharata. And Arjuna saw this. Adharma bhibavat Krishna. What else did he see? He said, see, when all the protectors are gone, then pradushyanti kulastriyaha. The ladies are going to become, polluted. And when the ladies become polluted, unwanted progeny is generated. All this happened because all the kings died. And this is how Prabhupada explains this, that, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, they were ruling the earth very effectively. But soon after that, as Kali Yuga progressed, the story goes, you can read in the 12th canto. But the strong rule of the Pandavas was no longer maintained, and the other sections of the world, because all the kings had come and died in the battle of Mahabharata, they eventually all left Vedic culture. And all these civilizations became completely disconnected from the Vedas. He was completely right. Even in the battle, even after the battle, the amount of grief and distress that Yudhishthira Maharaj had to go through and all the Pandavas had to go through, it was all 100% real. But still, he had to do it because that was Krishna's plan. Krishna had a bigger plan. And it takes a lot of maturity for a devotee to accept this. It's very hard to accept Krishna's plan, actually, because it's hard to understand. Then if you understand it, then it's hard to accept it. So, Hare Krishna. Anything else?
There's there's like the pastime of the Brahmana in Sri Rangam who couldn't read,
Yeah.
but his spiritual master told him to read, and he still got the desired result. For someone like me, I can't sing like you were saying. If the spiritual master ordered me to sing, I would have to sing.
Yeah.
Desired
Master
result.
orders, then it's completely different.
And does that extend to, like, I see, like when we come to a temple like this, they're asking me to sing. Oh no, Prabhu! Like, like, is it actually like should I accept it? Like yes, or is it like a puffed up mentality, ready to sing?
You should judge. The thing is that if it's going to be more of a disservice than a service, then better not to accept. The point is that one generally accepts these kind of services when there's absolutely nobody there, or there's nobody else to do it. Then it's better done than not done. Blind uncle is better than no uncle. But if there is an uncle, then a good uncle, then why does the blind uncle? That's the problem with Dhritarashtra. The good uncle was there. And the Pandavas said, but no, I'm blind uncle, I will stay here, He was put on the throne because blind uncle is better than no uncle. But the blind uncle became so attached to his position that he refused to give it up. So, yeah. When there is a need, yes, it's okay. When there's no need, you have to judge for yourself. Because, there's the devotees and there's also the deities, Whether it is tolerable or intolerable requires a little bit of maturity. See, eventually you will come to know, because somehow or the other devotees will tell you whether it's tolerable or not. And then you have to be humble enough or mature enough to accept it, if it's intolerable, then you have to, I guess it's intolerable. It's more of a service for me to, play the instrument or something. You have to judge for yourself. Okay, anything else?
Krishna. It's related to this point. The Brahmana is said to be very liberal, and so we're trying to be like, this is a Brahminical movement, so we try to become tolerant, and so sometimes the question is, how do you balance, especially if you're in an authority or in a authority position, how do you balance being just tolerant and also at the same time correcting?
A Brahmana is tolerant towards things done to himself, generally. He's tolerant towards misdeeds done towards himself. And especially a Brahmana is tolerant of happiness and distress more than the others. This is specifically where that tolerance is described. He performs his duties nevertheless. Now a Brahmana is not tolerant of dharma being violated. In fact, the specific position of a Brahmana is to not tolerate dharma being violated. All the upper castes are responsible for maintaining dharma, but especially the Brahmana. Therefore, the Brahmanas didn't tolerate King Vena. They killed him. In the Bhagavatam. They could have tolerated. They're not that tolerant. You see, because, King Vena was a problem. And so they killed him. So, when one is in a position of authority, ultimately, just like the Brahmanas, their allegiance is towards Shastra. It is towards dharma. Similarly, when one is in a position of authority, one's allegiance is towards Srila Prabhupada. It is his duty to emphasize and establish and ensure that what Srila Prabhupada wanted is going on. And to do that, one may be tolerant in order to facilitate that, or one may be intolerant. And when Srila Prabhupada was asked a similar question, how does one know what is a principle and what is a detail? Srila Prabhupada didn't really give a direct answer to that. Srila Prabhupada said it requires little intelligence. See, that's the intelligence of a Brahmana. And a Brahmana, what he does is he studies Shastra, he also studies the life and example of Srila Prabhupada and the predecessor acharyas and other great devotees. By observing their activities and characters, he learns what needs to be done. It's not really, something that one can put together in a manual. But therefore, a Brahmana is expected to be very pure, because if he's very pure, very sincere in his practice, he will be able to grasp these things and observe these things, because he's in the mode of, at least he's in the mode of goodness, if not in the mode of transcendental goodness. So then his intelligence is able to function, because in the mode of sattva gun is when your intelligence is the best, the most strong. And with that little intelligence, he's able to distinguish what is a principle and what's a detail. Sometimes he's tolerant, sometimes he's intolerant. But it's not that he's only tolerant, that should be understood. He can be very intolerant sometimes. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Okay. Mataji. What's the cutoff time? 8:30? Okay.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. So you were mentioning that actually everyone should have this Sankirtan mood, and if we're apart, we have to really get this mindset and desire to please Srila Prabhupada in this way. And maybe you can tell us a bit about how to develop this fire of really want to distribute this movement and to come to this Sankirtan mood.
I was going to speak a little bit more about that at the Sunday feast, because that was the topic. Be a giver. You see, if in our movement we are not developing attachment to Srila Prabhupada, then what are we doing? What are we doing? If we don't develop attachment to Srila Prabhupada, what are we doing here? See, if one has to develop some feeling for the spiritual master, especially in this particular case, Srila Prabhupada is called the founder Acharya, because Srila Prabhupada himself explains this. There may be many acharyas in the Krishna conscious movement after him, but he is the founder acharya, meaning his books are the law books for the next 10,000 years, and his instructions form the basis of the instructions that may be later said on. And Srila Prabhupada emphasized this Sankirtan movement. Now, Srila Prabhupada didn't emphasize this, Srila Prabhupada didn't come out of the blue and emphasize this, but rather, this emphasis we can see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we can see this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and like this. So, when one starts practicing Krishna consciousness, one should train oneself to consciously always have great feeling for the instructions of the spiritual master. Initially it requires training. That, okay, Prabhupada said, how can we do this? How can we do this? One has to have that anxiety. If one is not at that stage, then one should come to that stage. Because otherwise, we are going to be filled with so much anxiety about all useless things that are related to our mind and body. The only way to overcome that anxiety is to have anxiety for what Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do. And if one studies Srila Prabhupada's mission properly, one will understand that everything is centered around Sankirtan. Everything, including deity worship, everything. Preaching to scientists, it's all centered around Sankirtan. There's so many things that Prabhupada wanted. Ultimately, everything is centered around Sankirtan. So much more can be said. Another thing that I've found personally very helpful is even if one is not so good at doing Sankirtan oneself, one can try to serve those who are very good at doing it. They have so many needs that they are not able to take care of. We can take care of those needs. And that's a great service, because they become enthusiastic, they become fired up. They say, they feel valued, they feel cared for, and then their Sankirtan, soars through the sky. And it's like, wow, it's like, I can't even imagine doing even one thing, fragment of that. But it's great, at least I'm able to be of some service to those kind of devotees. That's personally my mood, I'm telling you. It's like, people ask me, how is Krishna Life doing so many books? It's like, well, I actually tell you that I also don't know, but I'm observing it, so I can tell you what I'm observing. It's, so that helps also. That's my personal mood on that. Okay, can I end here? Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vanchakalpatrubhyascha, Kripasindubhyavacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo.
Vishnu-citta Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Don't take as much money.
Hare Ram. Hare Ram. Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram. Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram. Bravo. Yeah.